Can you hear me? Well, hello. I'm Dr. John of Dr. John's Nutrition Health. I have a booth, and I suspect I won't be difficult to find. What a beautiful day in Southern California. This is why millions of people have moved here. And thank you, Santa Margarita Group of the Sierra Club, for sponsoring this Earth Day event. The theme for this event is Healthy Diet, Healthy Planet. The theme could not be more timely or important. I will first remark on issues related to a healthy human diet, and then I will address our devastated planet. After this, we'll ask if these two seemingly unrelated topics are related to each other. The answer will surprise some of you. So, a healthy diet. Since the 1940s, there has been a rapidly increasing epidemic of chronic disease in Western countries. North America, as always, leads the way. Our healthcare system has become a sick care system. The last 2 years of most people's lives are often spent sick, and we become tethered to a medical establishment which offers a host of medications whose side effects are as obnoxious as the diseases they treat. And the medications don't change the course of the diseases or the inevitable suffering and premature death we often experience. Healthcare is now geared to neither prevent nor cure our most common illnesses, including high blood pressure, high cholesterol, heart disease, dementia, and stroke. Speaking of survival, there will be 2.6 million deaths in the United States this year. Close to 1 million of these will be cardiovascular events, stroke and heart attack. 84 million Americans live with chronic heart disease. 270,000 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in the United States this year. 75 million Americans, that's 1 in 3, have high blood pressure. There will be 150,000 new cases of colon cancer diagnosed every year. And greater than 40% of Americans are now pre-diabetic. That's up from 10% just a few decades ago. 39% of our adults are obese, 19% of our youth, 80% are overweight and obese. That's most people that you know. 1 in 10, 65 or older, have Alzheimer's dementia. And the numbers are rising. Alzheimer's didn't make the top 20 mortality list 20 years ago, but actually now ranks 6th among the nation's top killers. Is this suffering, dementia, and premature death inevitable? 70% of chronic diseases are self-induced and clearly nutritionally related. In other words, they are preventable. Better news is that these diseases, from type 2 diabetes to heart disease, are often reversible. People in the world with the greatest longevity, the longest lived people, and maintain their vigor and intellect into their 90s. The historical blue zones of Okinawa, Japan, Ugly Austria, Sardinia, Icaria, Greece, Nicoya, Costa Rica, and other places subsist on green leafy vegetables, green beans, sweet potato, fruit, whole grains, nuts, and seeds. They eat very little meat or fish. These blue zone people rarely experience heart disease, colon cancer, or breast cancer, are not overweight, and they rarely suffer dementia. We have established that a diet containing high volumes of green vegetation, beans, fruits, nuts, and seeds can prevent and even reverse diabetes and other chronic ailments which are devastating our culture. So we've talked about diet and the path you may elect to take to achieve vibrant human health on a plant-based nutritional program of predominantly green vegetation, beans, fruits, nuts, and seeds. Dr. John's Nutritional Health can help initiate this plan of recovery for you. Now, what about a healthy planet? What about a healthy planet? Our world is under siege. It is being devastated. Even the Pope has weighed in on this issue. I must say, this Jewish man rarely quotes a sitting Pope. But in his 2016 encyclical on the environment entitled Laudato Si, Pope Francis, in decrying the destruction taking place on this planet, writes, quote, "This sister cries out to us because of the harm we have inflicted on her by our irresponsible use and abuse of the goods with which God has endowed her." This cyclical is a compelling read. Let's break this down into components. Food production. 1/3 of the global landmass now is dedicated to animal production for human food. Brenda Davis, in her groundbreaking Becoming Vegan, estimates that the increasing human population will require 3.5 entire worlds to produce enough beef, pork, and chickens to feed animal-based humans in the next 150 years. We must note that 40% of the oxygen-producing and CO2-gobbling Amazon rainforest has already been destroyed to create grazing land for cattle and to raise crops to feed them. How efficiently are we at feeding people on an animal-based diet anyway? It takes 17 pounds of corn and soy to raise 1 pound of beef. Is this the best allocation of our finite food resources for the 1 billion people on Earth currently calorically undernourished? Is the question. 70% of soy production goes to feed livestock. Less than 10% to feed humans. Less than 5%, or only 5% of corn enters the market for human consumption as corn or high fructose corn syrup. 40% to make alcohol for automobile fuel, 45% for animal feed. Water. Cattle consume 2,400 gallons of water per pound of raised beef. 2,400 gallons. Let's see, there are 6 million head of steer in California. They will consume 1,000,000,008 billion gallons of water. The 32 million people in California use 993 billion gallons of water per year. The bottom line is that there would be no water shortage in California without meat production for human food. You didn't hear that on the nightly news. Global warming. The darling of the environmental movement. For good reason. Global warming and catastrophic weather change may lead to the annihilation of hundreds of millions to billions of humans over the next 100 years. Fossil fuels and CO2 get all the attention. However, methane from animal digestion, a greenhouse gas 23 times more potent than CO2 as a greenhouse gas, now surpasses all cars, trucks on the road, and all industry combined as the largest greenhouse gas producer on the planet. What about our oceans? Also known as the manure problem. Manure ponds from cattle, pigs, and chickens is poisoning our groundwater. According to the US EPA, 50% of streams are now unable to support aquatic life due to fecal contamination. Fertilization of crops to feed the cows, corn and soy, is washing downstream, creating hundreds of miles of dead zones in coastal ocean waters where most fish once lived. And while we're talking about fishing, 90% of all harvestable fish, I'll repeat that, 90% of all harvestable fish have already been killed by overfishing. Not to mention the millions of porpoises, whales, and turtles killed yearly in long-line fishing nets. This by-kill from net fishing is staggering. For every pound of fish caught, 20 pounds of dolphins, whales, sea lions, and turtles are suffocated. That's a 20-to-1 ratio. Even if this were not the case, all fish in the ocean are hopelessly contaminated from land runoff of PCBs, benzene, and mercury. That's all ocean fish. In summary, I now return to the question posed at the beginning of our talk. Are the two topics proposed in this year's Earth Day theme, a healthy human diet and a most pressing need to cure our sick planet, have any relationship to each other? The answer is a resounding yes. Completely. They are one and the same. We can reclaim our diet-related human health, feed our growing hungry brothers, clean the atmosphere, reclaim our precious water, and refresh our poisoned oceans if we eat lower on the food chain. There is a direct link between global warming and the production of meat and dairy for human consumption. By shifting to a plant-based diet, we eat better, prevent illness, we cause fewer toxic chemicals to be released into the environment, reduce global warming emissions, and preserve our ocean resources. A healing plant-based nutritious diet is the most sensible way to achieve vibrant health and save our only home, the world on which we live. Dr. John's Nutrition Health can help you transition to a life of vigor, energy, ideal weight, and vibrant health. Visit our booth to learn more. Now, the time is short. What I'm going to do now is respond to some questions previously submitted to me, and then we can continue the discussion at our booth. This question is from Linda. What is the most important thing I could do to prevent climate change? The answer, the most important single act you could do personally to decrease climate change is to eat more plants and stop eating animal meat and dairy products. This question is submitted by Dave. My father died at 50 of a heart attack. I'm sure I have his genes. Am I doomed to heart disease and premature death? Big question. In the past few decades, it has been established that we can significantly change gene expression by environmental alteration. This is epigenetics. We can prevent and often reverse hypertension, type 2 diabetes, and heart disease, for example, on an exclusively low-fat, plant-based diet, regardless of the gene cards we are dealt. David submitted this question. I have friends who tell me to juice for health. Is this a good idea? The magic is hidden in the fiber. The plant chemistry is in the fiber of fruit and vegetables. You lose the majority of life-giving and healing phytochemistry when you squeeze the juice out and throw away the fruit and vegetable. Eat the whole fruit and vegetable. Throw green leafy vegetables in a blender, add a little fruit and some water, and enjoy the whole thing. Bill submitted this question. I'm on a keto diet and have lost some weight, but I feel bloated. I feel nauseated. I don't think clearly, mind fog, and I'm constipated. Is this common? The answer is yes. These symptoms are common on keto. Ketosis increases all-cause mortality, death. Most people quit this diet and gain the weight back rapidly anyway. Keto, Atkins, paleo, they all necessitate high saturated fat intake from dairy and meat. Only a low-fat plant-based diet has been scientifically shown to prevent or reverse heart disease and type 2 diabetes, two of our biggest killers. Look no further. Another question. My doctor is treating my diabetes and my blood sugar is controlled with medication. I'm okay, right? Excess fat intake from meat, cheese, and other dairy sources is the cause of insulin resistance. That is diabetes. Not carbs. Not carbs. Glucose control does not affect cardiovascular, heart, brain, morbidity or mortality from type 2 diabetes. Glucose control, blood sugar, is not the disease, it's a symptom of the disease. Most medical intervention for diabetes does not treat the cause of type 2 diabetes. We need to eat plant-based diet to address the root cause. Cynthia asks this question. I drive a hybrid and I recycle. I'm doing my part, isn't that correct? These gestures are nice. My wife and I, Linda and I, recycle about 75% of everything we use in our household. But the impact on global warming and pollution is marginal. The single most important act we can undertake concerning climate change and pollution is an animal product-free diet. It's the entire answer. My last question. I take an omega-3 supplement to protect my heart, and I have reduced my red meat. I'm on the right path, right? This is a question about supplements. Plant chemistry like omega-3 free fatty acids works synergistically with thousands of other phytochemistry to produce beneficial health effects. When we extract or individually package them as supplements, however, they don't often do what we hope. Omega-3s, for example, do not appear to be heart protective when taken alone. It may even make prostate cancer worse. Omega-3s do not appear to make babies more intelligent when taken by pregnant mothers. Carotenoids, vitamin A carotenoids, may stimulate lung cancer. Folic acid given to pregnant mothers, which is routinely done, may increase her later risk of breast cancer. Eating a plant-based diet high in greens, beans, fruits, whole grains, nuts, and seeds provide the array of healing and health-engendering properties we seek. Eat more plants. That's it. Thank you. I have a booth. I won't be hard to find. So I'll see you if you have additional questions. Thank you.